Welcome students for the unit 2 part 2 over here. So in this we are going to see mainly about procurement. So procurement is a process of sourcing and acquiring the goods and service a company which needs to fulfill its business model. Business procurement requires preparation, solicitation, acquisition and payment processing, which usually involves several areas of a company. When you see several areas of a company, we're going to say from purchasing, procurement, getting the order, then finally following up with logistic and management. So competitive bidding is usually a part of the most large-scale procurement process involving multiple bidders over here. So procurement is sometimes referred to as the five rights. So getting the right quality, the right quantity, right time, right price, from the right source. So these are the various factors which needs to be considered while when you are in a procurement area. So what is the importance of procurement? Whenever an organization takes a decision to stop performing a function, it is a responsibility of the procurement to buy certain goods or services that were previously produced by the firm in-house, which includes payroll and the employee benefits, cafeteria and food service, facilities maintenance, janitorial service, information technologies, logistics and transportation service. This is mostly stating the procurement aspect within an organization alone, not just for manufacturing of the product, but in order to run a system, all these aspects to be completed. So increase in material cost, reduce profit margins, free market competition, growth of interest, emergence of extended enterprise concept where organization success is seen resulting from not only its own effort but also from the effectiveness of all participants in the supply chain. So in the supply chain, procurement is one of the key phase, keeping the core competence in-house and outsourcing all other functions, keeping inventory low for maintaining or achieving high turnover ratios, yet always have materials ready for production use. To achieve optimum performance, procurement must balance these conflicting requirements. When we state about the procurement, so these are the important statements which is indirectly in proportional to the procurement aspect. So no other function is involved in more interrelationship than the procurement. So when you think about supplier, buyer, when you think about the consumers, everywhere the procurement aspect is going to be following it. Involved in resolving disputes between the requesting departments and the suppliers. This is within the system itself. That is, for example, when you take any automobile companies and all, when you talk about a paint shop or any welding shops, so those two departments will also have a procurement from each other's departments also. So responsible for adjusting rejected purchase, controlling the cost and making the replacements as per requirement. For operating effectively, the procurement must become a coordinator representing the interest of the company and not solely those for purchasing. So it means that connecting each and every set of the department to the buyers and the suppliers. So what is the objective of procurement? So purchasing is responsible for spending the largest portion of an organization's revenue because they are the ones who's going to define which portion of amount is going to be spent for what. So for maximizing its contribution to overall performance of the organization, it must establish the following two objectives. So assure the economic supply through the procurement of the goods, supplies, services to keep the company in operation. Contribute to profits by efficiently controlling the total cost to the operation. So economic supply through the procurement and controlling the total cost of the operation. So these two are the main objectives of the procurement. So following that, we'll see the goals of the procurement. So we have nearly 10 goals over here. So improve the organization's competition position. Should be focused on contributing to the overall organizational strategy, goals, and objectives. Identify and exploit opportunities in the supply chain to improve revenue, asset management, and cost reduction. Secure the lowest total cost source of supply without compromising the quality. Provide access to new technologies and design flexible delivery arrangements. Fast response time, access high quality products or service, and product design and engineering assistance. Constantly look for opportunities in the supply chain to provide a superior value proposition for the customers. Provide uninterrupted flow of material supplies, services required to operate the organization, keep inventory investment and loss at a very minimum. So this aspect is very key important. Maintain and improve the quality at every set of turns. Find or develop best in class suppliers. Rating our suppliers is usually based on analytical hierarchy process, which is one of a key industrial engineering tool which can be utilized for identifying the best suppliers. Standardize where possible the items are bought and the process used to procure them. Standardization refers to agreeing to on a common specification or a process, example across an organization, an industry, a nation, or the world. While talking about this, we have to know about the Indian standards also. Bureau of Indian Standards, which basically states the standards which has to be utilized in our country. So constantly strive to standardize the capital equipment materials, MRO, maintenance, repair and operating, and service purchases. Supply management process standardization results in shortened cycle time, lower transaction costs. These two are the important aspect with respect to supply chain. So while seeing over here, purchase required items and services at lower total cost of the ownership is also required, but without compromising the quality. Achieve harmonious productive internal relationship. Accomplish supply objectives at the lowest possible operating cost. Supply should strive to achieve its objectives by operating as efficiently and as economically as possible. Inefficiency represents basic waste and lead to excessive operating costs and unnecessary high total cost of our ownership. So these are the uh, basic goals of procurement. So what is the process then which needs to be done? So in order to do that, the first step is to need recognition. The business must know its needs a new product, whether from the internal or the external source. The product may be one that needs to be reordered, or it may be a new item for the company. So if you see over here, internal or external source, the internal means you can refer to R&D. External is your consumers. So getting data from your consumers is one of the key phase. Step 2 is specific needs. The right product is critical for the company. Some industry have standards to help determine the specifications. Part numbers help identify these for some businesses. Other industries have no point of references over that. The company may have ordered the product in the past. If not, then the business must specify the necessary product by using identifiers such as color or weight, uh, reduced profit margin. Requirement specification is prepared by the user department. So, what do you need? That specific aspect has to be given. Either it could be a standard or the part numbers can be helped to identify the product, or it could be entirely a new product which has not been ordered by the company for developing a new product. And follow that by with a requisition. So written order for goods or supplies. So this is one of the phase. So source option is the business need to determine from where to obtain these products. The company might have an approved vendor list. If not, the business will need to search for a supplier using purchase orders or research a variety of other sources such as magazine, the internet, or the sales representative. The company will qualify the suppliers to determine the best product for this business. There are different phases where we'll qualify the suppliers to determine the best product based on how they are manufacturing the product, from where the raw materials have been procured, and how it affects the society and the environment also will be taken into consideration. So based on the price and terms, the business will investigate all relevant information to determine the best price and terms for the product. This will depend on if the company needs commodities, readily available products, or specialized materials. Usually, the business will look into three suppliers before it makes a final decision. That is where we'll come up with a request for quotation, that is RFQ. So it's a basically a commercial offer, a statement of price, offer of a price, which has been stated and which has been offered to us. So bid evaluation and negotiation is gonna happen. So we'll see more about our RFQ. So RFQ is a competitive bid document used when inviting suppliers or contractors to submit a price bid or services where the requirements are standardized or produced in repetitive quantities. So this is usually given in a high volume or a low volume based on if it is a mass production or low value means it is produced for only certain particular customers and should be completed more quickly than an RFP. So the buyer must provide an technical specification as well as commercial requirements. The document may sometimes be referred to as an invitation bid or a invitation to a tender. So how the purchase order has to be? The purchase order is used to buy materials between a buyer and seller. So that's a basic definition. So it is going to be giving the specifics on the price, what type of a specification, and what is the terms and conditions of the product or service, and any additional obligation is going to be needed. So this is a commercial document, first official letter issued by a buyer to a seller, indicating what type I need, quantities, agreed price for products or services the seller is willing to provide to the buyer. Finally, we'll come for the delivery. So the purchase order must be delivered usually by fax, mail, personally or email or other electronic means. Sometimes a specific delivery method is specified in the purchasing documents, because even this could be a third party. So I'll order from one point of contact, but it has to be delivered to my industries or at a different place. So that has to be specified specifically. The recipient then acknowledges the receipt of the purchase of order. Both the parties keep a copy on the file for a further process. Then following that, expectation of the purchase of order addresses the timeline of the service or materials which is being delivered. So timeline is a key phase over here. That is where our logistics and supply chain again plays a huge role. So it becomes especially important if there is any delays which has to be intimated due to any specific cause or not, and how it is going to affect the cost over there. The issue most often noted included payment dates, delivery times, and work completion. So every aspect is being given over here itself. Following that, the receipt inspection of the purchase. Once the sending company delivers the product, the recipient accepts or rejects items after the inspection. So during the inspection itself, they will state that whether the product is being accepted or not. So acceptance of the items obligates the company to pay for them, so within the stipulated period of time. So finally, the invoice approval and payment. So three documents must match when an invoice requests payment. So the invoice itself, the receiving document, and the original purchase order, which needs to match so that the payment can be progressed. The agreement of these document providers confirms that both the receiver and suppliers are in alignment. Any discrepancy must be resolved before the recipient pays the bill. Usually, the payment is made in the form of cash, check, bank transfer, credit letters, or other type of electronic transfer. Mainly in current trend, cash is not viable option at all. Usually, they'll do a bank transfer or an electronic transfer of other types only. So, following that, in case of audits, the company must always maintain a proper records. All these things has to have a record of maintenance. These includes purchase order to verify any tax information and purchase orders to confirm the warranty information. Purchase records reference future purchases as well. So closeout document following that ensure that the contract is performed in accordance with the terms and condition and specifications of their contracts or purchase orders. So these maintenance is quite crucial for future audits. Also, it allows us to ensure the which vendor is effective for us delivering the products for us. So after that, understanding and conveying the requirements is quite a tedious process. So unless you can describe to a supplier exactly what you need, the procurement process will not be successful. So first we need to know what is the specification of the material or statement of the work or service which is need to be rendered by us. Most commonly, it is an internal user who generates requirement, and it is a procurement professional's responsibility to ensure that it is properly conveyed to the supplier in the procurement document. So over here, first we have to see what type of a material or the services which we are doing. So that has to be given in a specific aspect, along with the stated quantity, quality of the purchase, how it has to be delivered, what type of finance auditors understand the transaction after it's been completed. Specification means technical description of the material being which is purchased in its simplest terms. It can be a reference to a supply stock number or a brand name. So over here always there will be a standards which is being followed up. So it can also refer to an engineering drawing or a set of drawing which provides by the user that shows the part of the assembly with callouts for the type of materials required and all the necessary dimension to the produced part. So in case of chemicals and of other formulated processed material, the specification can be entered as a recipe or in a compositional format. So following that will be the statement of work. So it's called as a SOW. Unlike specification, this describes the requirements of the service. So it may be stated in detailed and the prescriptive format, describing not only what needs to be done but the method to be used, how often the service must be done as well. Mainly in medical pharmas and all, these SOW are quite important because most of the medicines is not manufactured in-house also. Certain people will have the patent and they will outsource the manufacturing. So SOW is quite needed for this kinds of works. Frequently, SOW also contains a set of metrics describing the level of performance requirement. These are called key performance indicators, as everyone knows. So it determines the level of performance requiring correctiveness. So following that will be the time of performance. So this indicates a date when you expect to receive the product or service you are procuring, the product document. The document must clearly state the delivery or work completion date so that the supplier understands precisely what is being required. So these are the main aspects which needs to be done when understanding and conveying the requirements to your suppliers. So these are the various aspects which you need to look around in during procurement aspect alone. Following this will be the price and payment terms which you will need to include exactly how much your organization has agreed to pay for the specified product or service in the requirement so that you avoid the misunderstanding and clearly determine your organization financial obligations. The procurement document should also specify when the payment is due. This is usually expressed as a set of number that is from net 32 or net 45. So we'll explain that. So over here it is clearly stated that when your formula is being stated that 2/10 net 45, this means that the payment is made within the 10 days, 2% discount can be taken for the entire total amount. But the total balance is nevertheless due in 45 days. It means we have 45 days to pay the amount. But if you pay in the first 10 days itself, there will be a 2% discount will be given to us. This indicates a date when you expect to receive the product or services you are procuring in the procurement document. The document must clearly state the delivery or work completion dates so that the supplier understands precisely what is being required. So following that, we need to be very clear with the shipping destination method and terms. If you're not procuring materials and intend to use a specific carrier to transport purchased material, you should also include this in your requirement as well. You need to specify the level of services, overnight, uh, second day, or you can go for even a ground transport. So this has to be clearly given in the when conveying our requirements, because this logistical aspect will change the uh, supply rates over there. So after that is to build your account, pay for it, and then build your organization or absorb the freight cost outright. So in your instructions, include the exact destination of the shipment, and the point at which the ownership of the goods or title transfers from the seller to the buyer has to be done. So this shipping destination and which method and terms has to be very clearly stated. So what is the difference between procurement and purchasing? So we have seen a lot about procurement, right? So what is the end goal for a procurement is to identify the company, what it needs and fulfill the procurement of those needs, strategic and proactive process. While purchasing to arrange the company expenditure and buy goods and service for the companies as a reactive process. Over here, the goods and services places more importance on an item value than how much it is being cost. Over here, purchasing, it is more focused on the price than the value. So when it's deployed, procurement involves in the end-to-end activities that needs to see the necessary goods and service. It gets over purchasing. It is time to buy the goods and services. It involves in that aspect. As per the tasks involved, everything from need recognition of sourcing, contract closure, record keeping, every aspect is done. Or in purchasing, the ordering, expediting, and payment aspect will be done. How it deals with the supplier is focus on developing long-term win-win relationship with the customer. Focus on making efficient transaction, not overly concerned with the developing vendor relations from the purchasing aspect. So, form with that, we'll be seeing the e-procurement. So, a mobile app that helps you request, approve, and receive goods, vendor management and vendor performance tracking, three-way matching, uh, data exporting into your accounting systems. So, e-procurement is one of base aspect because like we have seen a lot of apps and all right now, Amazon and all, which is using a e-procurement method, Flipkart. So they use an automating procurement so that the purchasing is done very efficiently by us. So when you see e-procurement, purchase requesting function for everyone in the team, procurement for work follows, purchase orders, approved vendor, so approval system based on locations. Every aspect of these things has to be validated so that they are taken up for e-procurement by a third party. So what is a procurement span of control? So when you say span of control, there are four aspects which you have to see over here. Uh, Evaluate and select suppliers aspect, review the specification, act as the primary contact with the suppliers, determine the method of awarding purchase and contracts. So these are the following decision areas of a procurement department. So we'll see that first one, evaluate and select suppliers. Mostly we'll doing with the help of analytical hierarchy process, we'll select the suppliers. So especially important to avoid the situation in which when the seller contact and attempt to sell directly to the end user. So these are important steps which needs to be followed up. So review specification is authority to review material specification within the purchasing span of control. This helps avoiding developing material specification that only a user's favorite supplier can satisfy. So that is more important. Review of different requisition may reveal that different users actually require the same material. By combining purchase requirements, purchasing can often achieve a lower total cost. So act as the primary contact with the supplier. So historically, supplier contacts only the purchasing personals. So when you say any R&D persons or any engineer, only through the purchasing personals, the contact to the suppliers will be made. So because they will be always in a rapport on that. So some firms have now relaxed that policy. Purchasing personnel may act as a primary contact for the supplier, but other functions may also be able to interact with the supplier according to the need. So determine the method of awarding purchase contracts. It is a right of the purchasing to determine how to award purchase contracts. Purchasing retains the right to control overall the process. Act as an agent to commit an organization to legal agreement and negotiate the purchase price. So this is a most important aspect because while awarding the purchase contracts. So how it directly impacts on the profitability. Purchasing is a key department involving profitability of an organization. because it consumes 50 to 85% of the total amount spent in the manufacturing firms, and up to 35% in the firms providing the services like IT services, various companies we have seen. So it takes most of the one third to one uh, half of the entire amount which is being spent on in the company. So purchasing department is not enough to maintain adequate source of supply, is a definite need. And how to calculate an ROI? A company can gain more profit by improving its purchasing function, which is not that easy as it requires as a competent team of buyers. Similarly, a poor purchasing can result in higher costs and decreases in the return on investment. Because when we talk about return on investment, that is one of the key aspect which every company tends to calculate before investing on a new product, right? So with this, we'll close up our session for today. Thank you.